All right, everyone, welcome back. Going to the second half here at Dropped Frames, week number 11. It's time to talk about Nerd Fusion. Bacon, why don't you introduce it? You guys made the announcement last Friday. Talk a little bit about what Nerd Fusion is.
All right. Well, I don't know how verbose you want me to get about the story and the history and all of that.
I just saw the clip, and that's all. So
slow me down if I'm talking too much. The short answer to what is Nerd Fusion, we are a production company, and it composes of myself, Severance, Giant Waffle, Dan's Gaming, and Pause on Pause. I'd mentioned Pause earlier. He has a bigger presence on YouTube, so the five of us have joined forces to form a company and to be able to get more stability and to raise the bar on production and all those sorts of things. So the history of how this came about, it started for me 2 years ago. Like, this is something I've been working toward for a very long time. As a brand new caster, I left the corporate world, right? I had the stability of corporate America and benefits and all of that for over a decade before I became a Twitch caster. And I was suddenly faced with, when I made that switch to doing this full time, it just felt so risky. And it was, I won't tell that whole story, but it was a move that I felt like I had to make. Like, I had to do it. I had to go for it. But I've got children. I've got a mortgage, right? Like, I was very concerned about questions like, well, that people in the chat and my family would ask me, so what does this look like in 5 years? Like, how are you going to be certain that you pay the bills and everything? I was very much occupied with trying to find a solid answer to that. And that's when I met Severance. We both were going to Minecon 2013, and we were going to be on a panel together. So that's how we initially connected. And the first conversation we ever had ended up being about what ended up becoming Nerd Fusion. And he started pitching the idea, and it just spoke to my soul. It was like, yes, this is exactly, I knew that he had the same exact thoughts and concerns, and he had been casting longer. So this was him finding a solution to that. And, the concept in a nutshell is, as a caster, what we want to do is make content, right? We want to play games. We want to be in front of the camera talking to the chat and, doing what we love. But there's all this other stuff that has to be done. Businessy things like managing business relationships and like, I don't know, paying taxes and like getting a website, right? So you have to manage the developers that you have working for you. There's creative content that needs to be made, and and the farther along you get in a career as a caster, the more of that stuff piles up and the less time you have to deal with it. And we realized that if you took several casters who were already successful in the terms of, like, we were able to call this our job, right? And you pool forces, well, then suddenly you have the ability to manage all that better, right? Like, we can hire someone to be an editor. Sure. We can hire a developer, and then have that person who, if we have if one of us has a few hours of work, then a person might not put that high on the priority list, right? But if all of us can keep them working nearly full time, well, then suddenly we're sure to have their attention, and that sort of stuff. And man, just the taxes alone, just, oh my gosh. I don't know about you all, but I got hit hard last year.
Sure.
and we're able to get a proper, accounting people and all this sort of stuff. So that's the basic idea. I'm expecting you all to hit me with questions about it. I don't really know what aspects of it piques your interest, so.
Sure. I think first off, I kind of speak for all three of us. Like, first, congratulations. It's awesome you guys were able to pull it all together and announce and all that stuff. I guess my first question is, do you think you announced too early?
That is a very legitimate question. And for me, the answer is no. Like if someone were to say to me, you did this too early, there's not enough of substance yet. That's valid, right? Like I can see that point. But on the one hand, you have people like Dan, who's so excited about it that every time he had a drunk stream,
Right.
all of us are sitting there going, Dan, shut up, don't talk about it. Stop it, Dan, no. There was a moment where Severance was like right on the edge of contacting an admin and telling them to shut off Dan's stream because he was so close to like spilling the beans and everything. And, and then of course we've been working closely with Twitch to get ideas and also to make sure that there weren't any red flags about anything that we're doing. Well, they got excited about it too. So like at PAX, Soma, like they did an episode of Twitch Weekly. We had to like convince him not to spoil the whole thing on the Twitch Weekly at PAX. So I mean,
waiting for it.
It felt like it was inevitable, right? Like
Sure.
we made sure that before we announced, the actual corporation was formed, and like that was the biggest thing, right? So it is an official corporation based in Seattle, and that's all finalized. We made that happen before the launch, and I think there was this, I don't know, it really felt like it was all just gonna come out anyway. So I don't know, yeah, it's valid though.
CohhZeke, feel free to jump in whenever. I don't want to hog too much.
My biggest, or one of my questions is, so you're creating this company that will manage your personal affairs, website, taxes, that kind of stuff. Are you saying like other broadcasters can come to you and like get help themselves, or?
I mean, I'm not saying that. I mean, like okay. right now it's 5 of us, right? Like that is NerdFusion, the 5 of us. Will we be wanting to expand and stuff in the future? Like personally, I think probably, but like we're not going to have that conversation until we're sure that it's actually working, right? Like
I guess what I want to know is like what is the purpose of the business?
The purpose, in a nutshell, is to make sure that we can turn Twitch casting in from a job to a career. We want to get the stability behind us so that we can have a 401k, so that we can have health insurance, so all these sorts of things that you give up by leaving corporate America and coming to Twitch. And because Twitch, rightfully so, isn't going to give us benefits. They shouldn't. If Twitch started talking about that, I'm not sure I would like the idea. But as a father, like I need health insurance, and so yeah. So that's the core concept. That's where it starts. Is how do we get stability and make this a career and not just until last Friday. Casting on Twitch, even though I've been doing this full time for over 2 years now. Until last Friday, it always felt like a hobby that happened to make money for me. And I never want to lose that core feeling, but the thing is, the point that I'm making is that it didn't feel like a future. It felt like at any moment, like this could all just fall apart or whatever, and I'm just kind of rolling the dice every day, hoping that it keeps going. And our hope is that by making something more stable, if it goes the way that we want it to, then if there is a sudden Twitch downfall, we'll have the momentum and stability behind us as a group to move to another platform if we had to. You know what I mean? That's just one extreme example. But
another platform of streaming?
No, just as being, I mean, at our core, right? All of us we're entertainers. We produce content. Right. Sure. And all of us are largely focused on Twitch. But I mean, again, turning it into a career, I don't want to have to be dependent on Twitch if something like, what if Twitch like canceled their partner program? Like, I'm not really afraid of that happening, but what if it did? You know, what if that much of my income were to disappear tomorrow? What would I do? But you know, if and me as a caster, I could take my community and try to go somewhere else and keep doing it, and I might be able to pull that off. But I feel like the odds of being able to do it successfully are going to be tremendously larger if with this situation, if we're all together as a group and have a group community, there's going to be more momentum behind it and more, you know, that sort of stuff. Sure. It's all about stability, really.
So the concept with the stability is not necessarily that you have a corporation, or that the real thing you're focusing on is the fact that you are now a 5-man brotherhood. Essentially, you're kind of, that's where the stability lies.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
okay,
it's a thing that provides stability in a number of ways, right? And that's one of them. Like on the corporate side, we can get corporate rates for healthcare. So even though there's only 5 of us, good old American tax law and healthcare law, other countries are like face palming at this right now, but a corporation in America can get much better deals, rates, tax breaks, etc. on healthcare. So just that aspect alone, you know, saves us a ton of money and gives more stability.
Sure. Realistically, though, does that outweigh the price of all the money that it took to set up the thing that I find interesting about it is, when you get together, when you bring the 5 men in, you all have your own income streams. You're all bringing them in together. And now you've kind of pledged to work as a group, which kind of, like, if you're moving money between you, kind of could open up windows in some way. But I'm interested and curious to understand how the forming of the company actually increases stability in any way, outside of people just kind of pledging to help each other if times go bad in a group. And I want to understand. I'm saying I'm kind of wanting to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of this is a work in progress. Like as JP alluded to earlier, it's early, right? Like right now, very little has actually changed. But so you know, looking to the future, we're envisioning having a production studio in Seattle and having staff and that sort of stuff, but that's down the road.
On that note, I had a question that I think I've been asked a lot. I've actually been getting questions about NRDFUSION since you guys had the announcement. That's how hyped people are for this. And one question that
we were globally trending on Twitter briefly.
I know, it's crazy. You guys, and this actually feeds into a couple questions I have for you. You guys have hyped this up to levels of major announcements by major companies. There is so much hype for this right now that, and I think this goes back to the first question JP asked, like, what was the reasoning behind creating this much hype for this announcement?
Well, like I said before, that's definitely a valid question. From my perspective, I don't know what the other guys would say. From my perspective, I really feel like I underestimated how much hype would happen. Like, and it's actually in a microcosm a good example of the power of the 5 of us coming together. Because I have done a lot of hyping, right? Like, I personally, as a streamer, I try to always have something on my calendar, right? Like, I always try to have something coming up that I can say, remember guys, this Friday, it's coming up. I try to always be in that cycle of hyping something so that there's a feeling of momentum that we're moving towards something, etc. And so I'm pretty familiar with that. And the amazing thing that happened and the global trending is a good example of that. I deeply believe that the reach that the 5 of us put together accomplished last Friday is much greater than the sum of the parts. I hope that didn't sound too cliche.
Sure.
I hope it didn't sound too cliche. But like I wasn't prepared for it, honestly. And I'm suddenly understanding what happens to a lot of companies who get accused of overhyping stuff. Like, I didn't know. I didn't know that we were going to be globally trending on Twitter. I didn't know that that like I shouldn't mention names. Major companies have approached us like the next day. Like the interest that we've generated here. I had no idea. We've never done this before. This is all new ground. To me, it was just like, you know, I'm obviously going to hype it as much as I can, but I'm kind of used to the feeling of how much reach I have, and we ended up reaching way farther, which is great. Like, I welcome that. That's exactly what, you know, but it's not like I could have, in advance of this, seen the reaction and tried to pace it, you know, because we didn't know. This is all new territory.
Do you feel with the announcement, and you guys opened up this, is it okay if I show the stream, by the way, that occurred on Friday on this stream?
Oh,
Bacon?
yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool. I just wanted to ask permission. Is it, when you guys announced the announcement, you started off in saying, you know, we're a production company. And leading up to that, you guys had music, you had a countdown that was synced on all the streams. And then you guys led into literally a desktop capture of Zoom TV with text of Nerd Fusion with a hashtag in the bottom right. No logo, no graphics whatsoever. Like, do you worry that that hurts you from the start, where people say, you know, they're a production company with zero production in the stream?
Yeah. I mean, I honestly hadn't considered that till you asked. I think a lot of, maybe looking back on it, at the time, nobody really knew what to expect, nobody knew what the announcement was. So leading up to it, I don't know. But yeah, I think looking back on it, probably if a company, for example, are investigating and they see that, I mean, in terms of logo, that's going to be another announcement. The whole branding, you know, we've got a branding agency that we're working with, and we will be announcing the logo and the brand, and that's going to be another step. The whole concept, like what we're trying to do by coming out this early, is to involve the community as much as we can. Like, there are so many times leading up to this where, like, we'll have to stop our casts halfway through because we've got a Nerd Fusion meeting or something, or like, especially Severance, because he is the CEO and is doing most of the back end work with working with the lawyers or whatever. Like, he'll get a call from the lawyer in the middle of a show and just have to stop, and he hasn't until now been able to tell his cast what the crap is going on. You know what I mean? And so now that it's all public, as these things develop, we can take our community along with us for the journey, and they'll, you know, see instead of like just dumping a fully finished product on everybody, which is definitely a valid approach. This way, people are going to feel like they can be a part of it because they see us all moving out to Seattle, and they'll see the reveal of the building when we buy it, and, you know, all the steps along the way.
You mentioned Severance was the CEO. Are there other titles within the company for the other four of you, or is there structure within the company?
I mean, it is an official corporation, so you have to have some of that stuff, you know, in order to be a company. As far as I know, he's the only one with an official title like that, but the five of us are the board.
Okay.
We're and you know, we are the shareholders. The corporations have shares. Right. You know, it's a private company, so it's not like stock market or anything, but we're all shareholders. We have to, it's required by law that we have a shareholder meeting once a year, and, you know, all that sort of stuff.
Ko, I think you were going to jump in. Still forming the question.
I have just a few questions about kind of the thinking by the direction, but the biggest thing, I'm very interested in Nerd Fusion. It's doing a lot of very interesting things. I like where it's going. The questions I have, I don't want to come off as not appreciating the concept. Like, can I ask some hard questions here?
Yeah.
Like, okay. So here's my question. So I do this full time. I stream 12 hours a day. From, you know, I have two YouTube guys, I have an account guy, I have a lawyer, I have a fleet of mods, all these people, all these machines, programs, things that keep the whole thing running. So when the Nerd Fusion stuff was building up, you know, know, people, I remember specifically seeing when 3 or 4 big casters, we just got off a multi-hour phone call. This is huge. We can't talk about it yet. You know, this is going to be awesome. And then all the hype building up to it, and then the hype dropped. And the thing that was like, when I was watching, I was going, you know, they're going to announce this huge collaborative effort or some big new project or some, you know, like some new, this has never been done before. But what we have is a very great idea. In fact, most likely the future of how this stuff is going to operate, which, don't get me wrong, is awesome. But like for like a solo flyer like me, you know, I generally am kind of, you know, I already have the fleet of people and all these, you know, I have hired the individuals and I'm streaming, you know, as much as I can, and I have people that do a bunch of stuff for me. So I'm kind of wondering, I'm sure I'm not grasping where it's going. You know, there's all this hype had to have purpose and reason. And it brings me back to, you know, like my first question, like what was the purpose of it? And then moving forward, like where do you see this going? Where do you see it? Is this, have you announced it, this is it, and this is what Nerd Fusion is? Or is it going to be evolving into you all doing collaborative stuff and you all have Nerd Fusion brand and it's like a television channel? Or, you know, like what is going to set Nerd Fusion apart from 5 guys streaming on Twitch? What new content will we see? What is the view? Is Nerd Fusion going to be transparent to viewers?
Okay. Well, first of all, to respond to that, I wanna fanboy on Coh for a minute, if I might. CohhCarnage here, for any of you who are watching that don't really know Coh. CohhCarnage is amazing at his ability to form a group of people as a support team for what he does. Like he has all sorts. He's not kidding when he talks about having the developers and having, like, if you watch his stream, he's constantly like releasing new features for the chat stuff and having new stuff coming up. That's something that me as a caster am insanely jealous about. Not everybody can pull that off solo. In fact, hardly anybody on Twitch can. And I think that directly speaks to the success that CohhCarnage as a caster has. Right? Like, and I have tried to do that. Like I hired someone with a PhD in a HR related field to recruit for me, to get people, because I tried once just putting out, like, there was a specific thing that I needed a developer for, right? I got a person. Like I put out an application thing, right? I need some help with a project. Here, submit your resume or whatever, and I'll pick some people. And I had like 3,500 resumes submitted to that, and I'm immediately like, okay, I don't have the time in the day to do that, right? And then so I at one point hired a recruiter to do that for me, to sort out the talent. And I'm not going to go into the details of that, but the whole thing fell apart. It didn't work. I wasted a lot of money and didn't get anywhere. And I know as I'm saying this, there are people in my community already typing an email. Well, Bacon, I'll be happy to help you, but like that's not the point. Yeah. I've always felt like there are people out there willing to help, talented enough, and me as a caster, I don't have enough time in my day to coordinate it and find it and bring it all together. That is a skill that is rare. And like, for example, JP has unbelievably good production value on all of his shows. I'm super jealous of that. If I had a person that I could throw money at to make that happen, I would do it. But I don't have that guy. And I could probably find that guy to make all that sort of stuff. But if I'm going to be continuing to cast full time, I don't have enough time in my day to hunt down and do it, right? And this is just, you know, small examples really, but you know, if we have a company with staff, then I can say I have this amazing idea. And in fact, I've said this to myself numerous times as a caster. I'll have an idea. I'll have like an idea that I think is brilliant, and know at the moment that I form the idea that I'll never be able to pull it off because I don't have the time, the resources, the talent to be able to make it happen. And to me, that's what Nerd Fusion is about, is being able to accomplish that, right? Get a support team in place, to be able to pull off those things.
So if nothing else, you will have all the tools in place so you can make more content. If nothing else, I mean, and you can do it stably and a great
yeah.
way to make it
I want to cast. I want to play games. I want to cast, and I want to talk to my chat. I don't want to be a lawyer and a tax guy and a marketing guy and a web developer and wear all these hats. I don't want to be a recruiter, and I want to just be a caster. And
so where do I sign up for the inevitable time when you guys realize you're sitting on $1 billion idea for being a consultant firm? Where do I sign up to be a part of that? Just shoot me a PM on Skype when you get that.
Okay, you'll be the first to know.
But
I hope I addressed your question well enough.
No. Thank you for that answer. That it certainly makes more sense. And to be perfectly honest, as I say frequently on my stream, if I didn't have all this stuff set up, there's no way I could run my stream like I do. So having 5 guys get together, share resources, share connections, use similar people, you can all establish a similar brand and theme based on using the same individuals, group deals. I see much better now why you would go with that. I'm still a little confused on why you'd hype it up so much, but I love the idea.
I want to speak to the second part of your question, which was, what does this mean in terms of content? And so I think that's something that needs clarifying. A lot of people have jumped to the conclusion that we announced a streamer house, right? And and that's been done before, and there's nothing wrong with that or whatever, but that's not any sort of unique idea. That's absolutely not what we're talking about. We plan on having a shared space, like a studio, a production studio that we can all go and cast from, but we're not going to be living there. I have kids. I'm not going to live in a house with other streamers, right? It's just not going to happen. But it will set the stage for collaborative stuff that, in my mind, will be next level in terms of, saying next level, just for me, for my content, raising my own content to the next level, because Waffle will be 2 doors down. Like at any point, he'll be able to just walk in and sit in a chair behind me and and we can do stuff and we can plan out collaboration and I'm a little bit tired because we can't talk about future plans in any sort of detail, because then expectations get formed and then people are like, wait a minute, a year ago you said you were going to do this or whatever.
Is that a big worry that expectations have been formed?
Yes, and that's a big reason why anything where you're saying to yourself, it seems like they don't have much of a vision. I totally understand where that's coming from. And the response is, we do. We have very big plans. We just aren't talking about them in specific details because of that. Because what if we get this big idea? And I think all of us have been through this before. You get a big idea and you start to work toward it, and eventually it doesn't work out, or you change direction and it doesn't, whatever. And then everyone's going to be like, you promised us a year ago that you were going to have a streamer house or whatever it is.
Right.
It's interesting.
We don't want to be in that position.
It's very interesting because that's exactly what I was trying to touch on a little bit earlier. It's almost like a lot of times that hype is kind of an unsaid promise. It's hype. The more you hype, the more you're saying, hey, incoming is something really big that's going to affect you. This is the big hype. And you guys did a frankly amazing job at it. And it's just going to be very, very interesting to see kind of how it progresses. I mean, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
To me, you can look at the skit that we did, right? Like that skit that we did if you watch the VOD of the announcement, we opened with a skit. And that is something that I wrote the script for that, and it took me about 5 minutes. We had one camera in Aurelian's hotel room at PAX at a moment that okay, we've got an hour before we all have to be at 3 dinners. Let's record this quick, right? That's the scenario that we recorded it in. And to me, that video is one of it's in the top 3 of moments in my Twitch history ever. Recording it, I just am still laughing about how it came together, and I loved making it. It was so much fun. And I'm thinking, what are we going to be able to do collaboratively like that when we're in the same city, when we have an actual studio that we can produce stuff, and we have staff that can actually run a camera and stuff? Like, my mind is blowing. Like, a lot of this is uncharted territory, and I'm excited to see where it goes. You know what I mean? And I think, like I said, coming back to the point I made earlier, I have made a habit of not pursuing ideas because I know that they're too big. I'm thinking too big. And I even started a Google Doc of ideas. I've had this for several years now, a Google Doc of Twitch related ideas that I would love to do, but are too big for me to accomplish. And to me, that's exactly what Nerd Fusion is going to do. We're going to be able to put that idea on the table and say, how do we pull this off, and actually have the resources to do it. I get nerd bumps just thinking about that.
We've seen a lot of this before in the past couple of years with YouTube. Back when YouTube was kind of in its heyday before the days of Twitch, where people like Yogscast, very successful, have come together. The Creatures were a thing. There's definitely been similar things like this. With that in mind, what do you guys plan on doing different? Have you studied what they've done and done correctly, and going to try to emulate that in your own style, or is this still kind of something that's been being talked about right now?
It's hard to answer that question without talking about future plans, you know. But
sure.
Absolutely, like, between the five of us, we have personal connections to many of those groups that you're talking about, and you know, we've definitely talked to them and learned about pros and cons, and you know, that sort of stuff. And a lot of people immediately want to make that, just like I was saying, a lot of people jump to the conclusion of Streamer House. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's another Yogscast," or it's you know, it's Creatures for Twitch, or whatever. Like that. That's happening a lot. It's not. I don't think it's quite accurate though. There's definitely crossover, you know, in concept, but the problem that we're running into is that people are already starting to project those groups, their community culture, ideas, expectations, like, onto us.
Well, you haven't given them any reason not to. You announced.
Yes, I completely agree.
I'm just saying that I'm answering the question.
I'm not saying I don't understand it. I'm saying that we're being careful to manage that, right? Like, we don't want people to start assuming that we're like some other group, because then it'll end up disappointing them when they're like, "Oh, wait, you mean you're not like Yogscast? Wait a minute, that's not what people, you know." And I've made the same point to the group too, is like, if you don't give people something to go on, they're going to fill in that gap with something,
of course, and
that's what happens. So I get it, but yeah, I guess the answer in a nutshell is there are definite parallels to be drawn, but we see ourselves as something unique that hasn't been done before, especially on Twitch. And I think the vision will be crystal clear when you know, as time progresses and we actually start producing some of the content that we're talking about.
I'm just sitting here in awe, like just trying to soak it all in, because like a year ago for me, this was just, you know, like a not even a viable option, you know, maybe 2 years ago. And now that this stuff is all coming around and seeing these, like, an actual, like, corporation come out of this is just astounding. I'm just so apprehensive on new ideas like this that I'm not sure, like, what, as a outside of it, like, what it pertains to me. Like, I can watch your guys' example, I can see what you guys do, but as far as the announcement, like, it was just a huge thing that I was like, oh, well, good for them. But now that you're talking about it, I'm guessing, like, you want to forge into a completely different path and show people that it can be done for Twitch casters and stuff like that. Is that true?
I'm not sure I understood your question completely, but yes.
Okay.
I don't know.
How does this pertain to me, like, as just an outside Twitch caster, outside of your corporation?
how should it? I don't.
I mean,
I don't understand. I don't know what you're asking.
Zeke, feel free if I'm misrepresenting your question, but I think what Zeke is asking, like, as a standalone caster, is it something that perhaps in the future, you guys will be taking on new members? Is it something that, the 5 of you will do what Yogscast does and you will invite more people to come along in the business as well? Or is that something down the line that you guys are interested in?
Speaking only for myself, yes, I'm interested in that someday. I can't speak for the others, but absolutely, a conversation about adding more people won't happen until we're like operating in the black, right? Like we're actually turning a profit and stable, and we have a proven model, and we're sure that, because if you get halfway into it and add another person, it could just like screw everything up, so the day that we talk about adding more people won't happen until we're stable, running smoothly, and nobody any longer has questions about what is Nerd Fusion and what are they going to do. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I feel that's down the road, right? It's a while.
A question that I am kind of forming with a lot of the responses that I've seen, granted a lot of these are just pulled straight from the negative responses in chats and all of your chats, is a viewer of, all 5 of you guys. Can I expect change on the broadcast, or is it more the same with more? If that makes sense. Because I think a lot of people are worried about, I'm a big fan of Dan's gaming. Is Dan going to change what he does on a daily basis?
Yeah, that is definitely a common concern and question. And is our content going to change? I mean, it can't not. Like, we couldn't not evolve as a result of this. You can't be in such a tight. I mean, we are directly financially tied to each other now, right? Like, that's going to have effect on what we do. But none of us have any interest in changing who we are or who our communities are. Like, I'll give you a specific example. I am a family-friendly caster. So in my channel, I don't swear. We don't allow swearing in the chat either. A lot of people are like, wait a minute, now Bacon's in this group. Severance has a reputation for dropping F-bombs. Is suddenly he's going to have to clean up his act because now he's in a business with Bacon? The answer to that is firmly no. Like, in no way will I project the standard and the culture of my cast. I have no interest in projecting that onto the other members of the group. Severance is still going to drop his F-bombs, and I'm still going to be family friendly, and it's all the same. What we want to do is do everything that we already have done plus more. Like speaking only for myself, if I had an editor that I trusted and was talented enough to meet my exacting standards, I would produce a lot more YouTube, right? Like, I love having YouTube content. I have zero interest in editing it, and I don't like the process. If I had an editor, I can record content, right? Like, I can push the button and I can do something in one take and give that to an editor so that they can chop it up and do all the posting or whatever. And that process won't affect my ability to do my streams the same amount of time that I already do. So taking that specific example, I will be able to produce more content. I'll still have my same stream, but suddenly my YouTube will be more active because I've got the support team to make it happen.
Sure.
So yeah. And and we have specific things that we want to do for collaborative stuff. For example, I can announce right here that we're going to start up a weekly podcast. We don't aspire to be the level of awesome that Drop Frames is, of course, but we will be weekly having a Nerd Fusion show, and I think it's going to be a bit more relaxed, just kind of us chatting, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And we're starting out this weekend. So let me get the exact time. This coming Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, from 5 to 6 Eastern.
And that'll be on everyone's channel?
I believe so.
Or on the new Nerd Fusion channel, or all 6.
Yeah, I mean, if we do the simulcast thing, then it would be on any of us, but you can definitely follow twitch.tv/nerdfusion with a nerd with a 3. That'll if it is on one of our channels, that would be hosting it. So
okay, cool. You mentioned being financially tied to one another. 2 questions. First one being, does that hurt growth? Because one of the things that I enjoy as a Twitch broadcaster is that, you know, Bloodborne came out this month, and that's going to be really good for streaming. And the growth, my gains for this month exponentially raised because of a big game coming out. With being in a corporation, is the money set in stone, or where does the growth occur? And maybe I'm getting too into the financial area of the corporation, but I worry, like, how does growth occur in a corporation where Twitch is very up and down financially as a broadcaster?
Almost stock market-y.
How is that? I mean, how is it any different than individual casters' growth up and down with the market? I'm not sure I see the difference that you're referring to.
Well, they can go up. You're capped, are you not? You said salaries are in place. Or like, maybe I'm just not understanding the payment system within the corporation. Are you still earning what you earn per your channel, or does that feed into the corporation and then you're getting a cut of that?
I'm not going to talk about specific numbers.
Again, I might be getting too specific. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about specific numbers, but it's basically percentage. We're all contributing to the pie, you know,
is
for
that
the company.
And for me personally, and this is my own thoughts, that is fearful, or I'm fearful as fuck if someone's not pulling their weight in a company like that.
Right.
So with that in mind, like, when you form this, do you worry that, you know, I know everyone's stand-up person, but my own fears. Say Dan has a bender and goes to Vegas and blows X amount of money and runs away with the corporation.
Right.
Are there things in place to facilitate a change if one needs to be changed? Like,
yes.
Okay.
In fact, that is one of the biggest things we wanted to announce closer to the beginning of the year. And those sorts of nitty-gritty details are a big part of what delayed it, because there absolutely is severance conditions built right into the contract. That we have an employee. We are employees of Nerd Fusion. We're no longer self-employed. I am an employee of Nerd Fusion, and my employee contract has conditions in it that state that if I stop working,
right,
Nerd Fusion can kick me out. But it's worth saying that that's one of the primary things. Like, in the beginning, we have to answer the question, who do we get, right? Like, when Severance pitched this idea to me 2 years ago, he asked me straight up, who would you invite to a group like this? And at the time, I'm like, I don't know. And, you know, and so we spent a lot of time, you know, getting to know people and whatever. Like, the absolute foundation is that we already all have to be friends. We all have to be comfortable working with each other and compatible. It's like two people could be great broadcasters and friends, but still not be a good mesh for collaborative work. You know what I mean? And so we had to find 5 compatible people, and all 5 of us had to already be successful in our own right. Like, each of us had to be able to be at the point where we can stand on our own 2 feet. You know, that was absolutely a requirement. Like, we can't bring somebody into this and carry them, you know?
Sure.
So yeah, so we're all, and the thing is, like I mentioned, it's percentage based, so that if one person grows, because we don't all have the exact same audience, right? Like some of us are larger than others numbers wise. Percentage based keeps it all fair, right? We're all, you know, if that makes sense, and accounts for growth. But the other point that I wanted to make about that is that it looking at how much I spend on this sort of stuff, right? Like, taking a percentage of what I make and kicking it toward the company, I'm already spending that. I'm already spending that hiring tax guys and developers and all this other stuff. Like, I'm already spending that amount anyway. And so it's going to end up in that sense, not making much difference at all in my actual take-home income or whatever.
Sure. Ko, I know you had a question. I applaud the 5 of you for being able to agree on percentages for each and every one of you. That is something I would not have expected ever from Twitch casters. But
actually, hold on. I just wanted to clarify that a little bit. When you say percentage based, you're saying everyone pays the same percentage, correct? So everyone is putting the exact same amount into the company?
I don't know if I can answer that.
Yeah, it might be too financial. I was
I
going to
don't
ask
want-
the same
I
thing.
don't want
but-
Severance like smacking me.
It
Like
would-
Severance,
it would-
I know that
this
we're
seems-
making him nervous. Severance is watching this going,
That's fine. That's fine.
bacon.
I mean, that's
Shut up, pig.
So, okay, I have 2 questions. And these will be my last big 2 here. So the first one is, have you guys announced any hard dates for any decisions or introduction of more information?
Like a
Is there
roadmap?
any roadmap of any kind for new Nerd Fusion currently? That is public. That is public.
The first thing on our roadmap is the podcast that's starting this Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern. And beyond that, it's not set in stone, no. But there is a roadmap internally, but the problem is, for example, we don't have a logo yet. We don't have branding, right? That will be announced. That will be a step on the roadmap. We can't attach a date to that because they're not done making it yet, right? Like we can't say, 2 weeks from now we're going to announce the logo because they're not finished. And if we put a timeline out, then we miss the date or whatever. And so yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about the same concept earlier. Like there is definitely pros and cons to making the announcement this early. Like I totally admit that. It's we made an active decision to kind of be public about the thing because once you form a corporation, like our names are on there, right? Like you can look up this is publicly filed, and it was only a matter of time before somebody. In fact, it was something like that happened. Like Severance was filing one of the papers or something related to the company and had the guy on the phone go, "Wait a minute, are you Severance?" And so it's only a matter of time before the internet puts those pieces together and starts pummeling at us with, "What's this Nerd Fusion thing?" In fact, Dan was on the what was it? The DayZ tournament thing that happened?
Survivor Games.
He was on Survivor Games. The only other team that he was on was Nerd Fusion and Survivor Games. And as a caster, you pick what your primary team is. Well, they disbanded the team or removed him from it or something. And so there was one night when he's casting, suddenly it said Dan playing whatever on Nerd Fusion, and people in his chat started saying, "Dan, what's Nerd Fusion?" They're like, "Oh no,
Dan, you're fucking up. They're gonna boot you out of the company. You gotta run, Dan. Get the money and go."
And so he had to actually remove himself. He had to leave the team so that it would stop showing up there and then get joined later. And we had so many of those moments that it was like, okay, we're gonna announce this. We're gonna bring our communities in on it, and we're gonna let everybody go along for the ride as it forms. And believe me, I want a roadmap as much as everybody else does, but we're just not willing to hype up something that doesn't happen or happens late or whatever. We're going to do it methodically and when things are ready to be done. And like I said, the logo is a great example of that. We had a logo related meeting right before Drop Frame started today, actually, and I'm excited. I really like what they're showing me right away.
So this is my second and kind of last question. It'll kind of tie into that. So it's the level of hype has been enough to where, people that aren't even associated with Twitch are now looking at you guys. And most importantly, they have questions. Lots and lots of questions. Really hard decisions that need to be answered. I see a Nerd Fusion talking in our Twitch chat. That's Severance. That alone opens up so many questions. Are we going to see Nerd Fusion shows? Are you guys going to collaborate together on there? Is that going to take away from your normal podcast time? Or, all these questions are here. And you just told me you guys' last meeting was about a logo.
No,
so,
I mean,
but no. But my point is, it's like it seems, and with the announcement and the hype and stuff, it's like, when are we talking months, years? Is it going to be behind the diet? Are we going to get a second? The reason I'm asking this question, the whole reason I'm prefacing this, are we going to see more of the hype? Like, hey, get ready, guys! This Friday, big Nerd Fusion announcement coming up. Like, is this the first stage of a whole bunch of hyping that's going to continue on for the next few years as you guys make these major decisions? Or was the announcement, that was the hype event, and now Nerd Fusion is going to kind of slowly build in the background as it becomes what was going on? Does my question make sense?
I think so, and I don't know, honestly. Like, how are we going to approach leading into our next announcement? I mean, we know we have a roadmap of specific things that we are actively working on and planning on doing. We can't announce the details of that or the timeline. But as far as like how we're gonna present it, like the decision about how to hype it and how to announce it, we're going to take that step by step and absolutely learn from what happened last week, because I think, speaking only for myself, I've never done this before. I have never had something that was so hyped that it got globally trended on Twitter, and I don't know. Like, I plan on, like, we're gonna next announcement, we're gonna sit down together and go, okay, how do we do it this time?
Sure.
You know, that's something that's still getting worked out, because this is totally new to me. You
guys definitely understand hype. There's no question about that. Like, you guys nailed that aspect of it.
And just for the record, chat is kind of getting on me here. I know I'm asking some kind of hard questions, but I'm asking things like, I'm genuinely interested in Nerd Fusion. They got me hyped. I was sitting at bated breath waiting for that. Like, I am really enthralled to see how this is going to develop. So these questions I'm asking are because I'm really interested. I'm really wondering, like, are we going to see more announcements? Are we going to see stuff? Like,
these are the questions.
Where this is going.
These are the questions that we would ask.
I feel like the real momentum of the company isn't going to start to actively churn until we're all in Seattle, and we have said publicly that summer-ish is when we plan on having that done. So we are all, none of us currently live in Seattle. All of us are relocating, and so like we will probably have some sort of event related to, you know, opening the new studio that we do or whatever. Like, that's just a guess. I don't. Severance is already like, bacon future plans. Shut up. But just as an example, right? But once we're all together, it can start to pick up speed about what we're actually accomplishing. And you know, we have like an entertainment focused lawyer and you know, an accounting firm and that sort of stuff already, but it's not. We don't have actual employees. We plan to have employees, and that's not going to happen until Seattle.
Sure.
So, you know, right now we've got the podcast launching this Sunday, and then summer-ish for the relocation, and that's about it as far as public roadmap. But don't confuse that for like us not having a concept or a direction, or like, no, we have. There's very specific things that we can't wait to pummel Twitch with. Like, I'm just chomping at the bit to get it all done. I want to see it happen as much as anybody else does, but you know, we've already, because again, 2 years, it was 2 years ago that this all started, and I have been waiting for this day for so long. I don't think I could have held in the announcement any longer. And especially this PAX East, when all five of us were together, it was like, it just started feeling so real, and we're like, oh my, we gotta, and half of the hype, I think, was just a reflection of our own level, like, right? Because to me, that announcement was probably the biggest moment that has ever happened in 2 years of full-time Twitch casting for me, and so I couldn't have been more personally hyped for it, and I think our audiences like reflected that. You know what I mean?
Zeke, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I guess my more streamlined version of the question I was trying to get across before was, what was the importance to you of building up so much hype and so much like hubbub about this thing that's happening, but it's happening like it affects like you guys and your fans. what was the importance of building the hype rather than just like doing this and saying, hey, we've done this thing? Rather like, what was it like? Do you want like people to notice you and contact you and like that kind of thing? That's my question. Like, why so much hype over something that affects you guys?
Well, I mean, I have two responses to that. One is, as I've said earlier, I had no idea how much hype was going to happen. like we had no way. We had never put all five of us together hyping one thing before, and had no idea what kind of reach we were going to get or whether Twitch would care. Twitch as a community, I mean. So part of that was unexpected, and the other part of it is I'm a performer, man. I hype things. Like, that's how I roll. I don't think at any point it crossed my mind to not hype it up. Like, this is huge speaking from my own personal opinion. I'm not trying to be a salesman and shove it at you, but just speaking from my own feelings on the matter, this is freaking huge. It's the biggest change in my life that has happened since I've been a Twitch caster. It never even crossed my mind to be like, oh, by the way, we made a corporation. Like, I didn't even think about that. Like, I'm hyped. I'm like, I seriously I get bumps. I get nerd chills on my arm when I talk about some of this stuff because I'm so just hyped out of my mind about it. And maybe in retrospect it was a mistake the way we had. I don't know, maybe. But again, am I going to do it differently next time? Probably not, because I'm a hype man and I get excited, and that's kind of how I roll.
Bacon, I'm so glad you came on the show today, because I'm going to be honest with you. Before the show started, just like I said earlier, I was taking the hype as a promise. I was looking at the hype as you guys saying, we have this huge thing that's going to influence you, because that's a type of hype. When companies make big announcements, when new consoles are announced, that's a type of hype. But it really took me a little bit to process and look past the fact that this is a different kind of hype for Nerd Fusion. You guys aren't hyping it up to promise things. You're hyping up because you're genuinely excited about what you're doing in your life that could impact what you're working on. And it's kind of interesting because before, kind of seeing all this in front of me, I don't feel like I was looking at the hype properly. There's one thing to hype up an announcement, to get PR on something, to give people expectations. There's another thing to get hyped because you're genuinely excited about what you're doing. It's two different things. And I think that I was looking at it the wrong way.
I hope that comes across clearly to people, because anytime you say corporation, people immediately, that brings a negative in people's minds, right? Like, immediately there's people that are like, oh, they're selling out, or oh, they're this or that. But you just summed up exactly what I was trying to say, which is, this is not like anything that any of us have done before. It's not like we have some sort of corporate marketing guy that's saying, okay, you need to be on message, guys, and this is what we're going to, these are the steps for hyping this. No, we were like, hey, we should tweet #Friday announcement. And we're all like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's tweet that. And then, the closer it got to Friday, the more we were, hyped and tweeting it. And like, I was actively holding back, like, how much I tweeted the #Friday announcement. I kept saying, oh my gosh, people are going to be sick of me tweeting this. I need to stop. And, I wanted to hype it more, honestly, because I was just excited. This is affecting pretty much every aspect of my life. And, to me, it's really about the journey that we're embarking on. And there's a lot of questions that we don't have answers to, because it's gonna be largely directed by what our community wants to see. Like, what kind of collaborative content do our audiences actually want to see? This is new. Like, they haven't had this option to choose this before. So, we're going to be trying stuff. We'll produce something like that intro video. We'll do something else and try it. See if that's the kind of collaborative Twitch content that people like. If people are like, that was mediocre, we're like, okay, we'll scrap that and let's do something else. But the point is, there's going to be a lot more collaborative stuff happening, and we're going to be able to have a solid base under our feet to actually make it happen. So it's way less risky and we can stretch farther because there's less risk. We can stretch farther and experiment with more things and try to elevate the level at which we, all 5 of us, operate as individuals.
So I have a question, and it's jumping back into the money pool, and this is the last hard question I'm going to ask. I'm sorry for not getting it in before co-statement just now because it seems a little bit off place. With the idea of tips and the corporation being formed and you guys, percentages being split, when someone donates to you now, which is a big factor, and I think a lot of the people involved in the company, should they be not fearful, but you're donating to Nerd Fusion and not the broadcaster at that point. Is that correct? Am I
from a strictly technical standpoint? Yeah, like the money goes to the company first and then gets distributed, but that's so that we can make sure that all the operational costs are covered. You know what I mean? But absolutely strict accounting in place. If you donate to me, that money is coming to me. And if you subscribe to me, that money is supporting me, right?
Okay.
And like I said before, a cut of that is going to end up at Nerd Fusion, but the way that I'm viewing it personally is that that's exactly the same money that I was already spending on business-related things, right? Like I already have to hire a tax guy. I already have to consult with lawyers sometimes with some of the stuff that I do. I already have to hire developers. So that percentage, already is going there. So I don't. It's very little. That's just a technical, like behind the scenes accounting kind of thing. But
sure, I mean it's technical to you, but just like someone donating, they want to know where their money's going. That's why I'm asking the question.
On that same note, though, Nerd Fusion, from everything we've understood, especially after the explanations on today's show, Nerd Fusion is a facilitator for the streamers to be allowed to stream in a more comfortable and stable environment while taking care of all the stuff they need. When you donate to me, where do you think that money's going? It's going to pay my YouTube guys, my graphic guys, my tax guy. That's when you donate to any streamer, you're donating to their Nerd Fusion. Yeah. You're donating to whatever that keeps them streaming.
The question was, I'm just making sure that people tip. They know where the money's going. That's all I was just.
My answer though is it's going to the same place. It's going to the exact same place. Nerd Fusion is what they use to keep their stream going. When I donate money to JP McDaniels, it's going to your artist, your YouTube guy. Is it different in your eyes?
No, that's
no. It's just it was a question that I felt like should be answered. I think what you're saying is a correct statement. Yes,
and we addressed it directly. It should be noted on our FAQ because a lot of these questions are commonly asked, right? And
where is that at? So people know?
We have an official Reddit, reddit.com/r/nerdfusion, nerd with a 3. There is a wiki link there, and the only thing in the wiki right now is the FAQ, and that's directly one of the questions on there. If I donate / subscribe to a member, who gets the money? And
cool. Getting away from the hard questions. Twitch. I mean, you said you guys were wanting to work at them at PAX. You were going to maybe make the announcement there. Expressed interest. How are they fitting into all this? Have you talked to them about it? How are they feeling about it?
I mean, I can't really speak for them, but
just generally, what type of vibe are you getting? I guess
they were excited. They're very excited, and we have pitched certain ideas to them, and they've been excited about the ideas. And they're I don't know if you saw Twitch Weekly the Friday before our announcement, but they teased it on Twitch Weekly a couple hours before our announcement. They teased it and told people to go tune in to the announcement. And I forget, they phrased it it was crazy, one of the largest announcements for Twitchcaster history or something. I don't know. It was some big thing, and that is reflective of how they've responded. They've been very. Because really, what the core of what we're trying to do is get stable, turning Twitch casting from a hobby into a career. And from the eyes of Twitch, that's really they're interested in that, right? They are very much interested in the people that bring the most eyeballs to their site, that they're depending on for income, to be stable enough to want to stick with it. That's in their best interest, and they know it. So yeah, Again, I can't speak for them, but everything, maybe they're lying through their teeth. I don't know. But everything they've said to us has been very positive response and willing to work with us. So
Cool.
that's great.
Well, the final question I had was what's next, but you guys have kind of detailed that. The podcast on Sunday at 5 o'clock. So
Yep,
make
5
sure to
o'clock
watch
Eastern.
that. Co, Zeke, you guys have any last questions before we close up the show?
You know, I really appreciate Bacon coming on today. I know that we asked some hard questions, but I can tell you, you know, these are real questions that people are really interested to know, and I really appreciate you taking the time to answer them, man. This has been a wealth of great information today, and I can tell you, I'm somehow even more hyped to see where this goes now that I kind of have a better backing. And man, I gotta say, you guys are doing something very cool. Really great to see where it's gonna go.
I too am exceedingly excited to see how this comes together. I'm a born skeptic, so I'm always thinking like this is not going to work. Nothing's ever going to work. You know, Twitch is going to fail. Everything's going to fail. Word's going to explode. You know, no one lives. But I do hope, and I want to say like I'm excited that with these new ideas and this new company that you guys have built, I want to see it. I want to see it succeed so badly. So, sorry. So thanks for coming on, man, and explaining that to me. It unraveled a little bit of the knot in my brain that I was having with you.
Yeah, I think I echo both what Co and Zeke said. And for those that think I came off as a hater, I was just asking the hard questions because that's what I was in school for 4 years. So
No, yeah,
this is serious stuff. I mean, this is you know, this is a huge worldwide event. I mean, let's put it bluntly. It was the #1 trending thing on Twitter. This is a worldwide, or U.S. at least wide, real thing. I mean, these are real questions involving real people's lives, and you know, this is the kind of thing that needs to be said a lot of times with this kind of stuff.
And again, big thanks, Bacon. I told you before the show we were going to have the hard questions, and
yeah, like
thanks again for coming on even after that.
It should be said that JP warned me. He was like, we might be aggressive here with the questions. And my response was, you know what? If this concept doesn't hold up to that sort of scrutiny, then it's clearly a bad idea, right? Like we have to be able to be able to respond to it and still have it sound like a good idea, or else we're wasting our time. So I welcome it. Like the official place right now to give us feedback is the Reddit that we already mentioned, r/NerdFusion. I welcome anybody because I've been watching the chat throughout the course of this. I can't respond to it directly as we're talking, but a lot of positive and negative stuff has been said in the chat room during this, and that's great. I welcome it. Feel free to come to the Reddit and like if you think this is bad, if you have criticisms, be respectful, of course. You'll get deleted if you're just like insulting us or whatever, but I would love people to come and tell us why this is a bad idea. Like I think we need to hear that sort of stuff. So let us have it. We're open to it. And thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for having me on. I freaking love Dropped Frames. I watch it every week, and I love that I've got 2 firsts now. I was the first guest ever on Dropped Frames, and I'm the first guy to come back twice.
Yes. You probably would also be the first like interviewee too if you want another first, because we've never had someone on the show where we just said, fuck you, we're going to ask you all the hard questions, and then you don't get to actually have an opinion, just defend yourself the entire time.
Yeah.
That's what the past hour and a half was.
Well, you didn't go like full-on Total Biscuit on me, so that's good.
That's true. That's true. Cool. Well, let's do some shout-outs here, then we'll wrap up the show. Co, you want to start us off?
Sure. Well, I'm CohhCarnage again. A huge thank you to JP and Zeke. It has been a really extremely educational show. A huge thanks again to Bacon. Fantastic responses. Really helped quell some of, I think, the concerns a lot of people had, frankly. That's really great, and thank you for it. On the offside, a little announcement here. I do have an announcement to make. On Saturday at 1 p.m., there will be an exclusive world-first look at Camelot Unchained. We have a 5-minute alpha video. Mark Jacobs has supplied it directly to us. And at 1 p.m. on Saturday, the Camelot Unchained dev team will be unveiling the video for the first time ever here on my channel, twitch.tv/CohhCarnage. So if you are interested in hopefully the next DAOC, be sure to be here 1 p.m. Saturday. Hope to see you guys then. And again, a huge thank you to everyone else on the show. It's been fantastic. And yeah, thanks, guys.
1 p.m. Eastern? Is that what you said? There you go.
1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday.
All right, check it out, guys. Zeke, you want to do some shout-outs?
Sure.
Maybe tell
my
us a
name
little
is-
bit about what you're doing tonight.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm excited.
my name is Ezekiel III. I have a Twitch channel. I have a YouTube channel. I have all kinds of stuff. I broadcast a lot. I want to say thank you to CohhCarnage. I want to say thank you to JP McDonald's as always. And big thank you to Bacon Donut for explaining what was in my head as a big mess. Now I kind of get the idea and I get what you guys are doing. So thank you guys for coming on, or thank you for coming on. But tonight, 6 p.m. Pacific, and that would be 9 Eastern, yes? The roast, the first month, they're going to try to do it once a month. Sour Kool-Aid Show Twitch broadcaster roast is happening tonight, and yours truly is going to be the roastee. I will be having barbs and insults and all kinds of stuff thrown at me tonight, so you won't want to miss it. Co's going to be there. Lots of big name Man versus Games going to be there. Elaheim, Eddie Monster, Joey Girl. No, I'm going to Spam Fish. I'm going to miss somebody. But tonight, 6 p.m. Pacific, it's going to be on twitch.tv/Sour Kool-Aid Show.
There you go.
Check the chat for links. We'll be spamming it.
Yeah, go check it out. I'll just go real quick. It's always super short. Hi, I'm JP. This is always so awkward for me. I stream Monday through Friday, 4 hours a day, starting at 1 o'clock Eastern. Tomorrow I'll be playing Bloodborne all day. Tonight, when you should be watching the roast, we're going to be doing Roleplay Solemn at 8 o'clock Eastern for about 4 hours. But make sure you... How long is the roast going on, Zeke?
I don't know. It might get a little drunk out.
Oh, the roast is never ending. You're going to be watching the roast all night,
around
guys.
3
I
hours.
know. Like probably like 3-ish hours.
Okay, cool.
Multi-Twitch it.
Yeah. Apart from that, this VOD, as well as all the other VODs for all the roleplay shows, will be up at youtube.com/itmeJP. First one's still rendering. That's what I was just going over and looking at, but we'll get it processed here in a bit. Last but not least, Bacon, you've earned yourself some shout-outs, sir. So here's your chance, man. Thanks again for coming on the show, seriously.
You're welcome. I welcome the opportunity. Like, seriously, I keep telling. I feel like I'm a broken record sometime. Like, I'm waiting for the chance where like JP's got a guest plan and he drops out at the last second. Like, I want to be the guy going, you can call me in any old time. You know, you need a guest. I'll be there because I just love it so much. I love talk show stuff. I feel like it's a great fit for Twitch. So anyway, thank you for having me on. I welcome in no way did I take any of these questions as personal attacks or whatever. Like, it was, I feel like all three of you were very respectful and asking legitimate questions. So thank you for that. I also want to clarify that I didn't somehow insult Total Biscuit a minute ago. When I said
it doesn't matter.
I said you didn't go full on Total Biscuit. That was a compliment.
It's already been tweeted. He's already been
respect.
informed. You're fucked.
I know. No, I know. But
Next week on the Co-optional podcast.
I very much respect his ability to cut through all the BS and get to the point and stuff. So that was intended as a compliment. Anyway, if you want to get in on the discussion about Nerd Fusion, they're Nerd Fusion, nerd with a 3. Twitter, Twitch, and Reddit, and YouTube. It's all /Nerd Fusion. But again, open invitation to come ask questions and criticize on the Reddit. That is the official discussion place right now. And if you want to watch me casting Minecraft and occasionally other stuff, twitch.tv/bacon_donut. I'm live Monday through Friday starting at 9 p.m. Eastern. And I'd love to have you come by.
I do have one last question, Bacon.
Sure. I have one last answer. You go first.
Was Nerd Fusion without a 3 already trademarked? Or why the 3 in the name?
Not trademarked, but it was taken in places. Yeah.
I figured so. Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's trademarked. I don't know. But
sure. Gotcha. All right, cool.
We definitely started there.
I
like it, though. I like people being able to say, I'm a nerd, and like the 3 makes it a call out to the community. You know, we've fallen in love with it.
I'm just wondering how long it'll take before you get tired of saying with the 3.
Yeah, it's already there. I'm already there.
With an underscore.
There you go. Yeah, you forgot you need the underscore in between nerd and fusion.
Right, with some numbers and letters and exclamation marks. And
the easy solution here: just get so big that you take over the real word. Done.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. You buy out the real word.
That's a good idea. I wish I'd thought of that.
There you go.
Already on the.
There you go. All right, guys. Next week on Dropped Frames, we're going to be joined by Gassy Mexican. You might know him here on Twitch as well as on YouTube. And we're going to be covering a topic which I think we all kind of hold close to our hearts. I think any caster does. And that is depression in streaming. So it'll be an interesting episode. I think, Zeke, it'll be on your channel. I might advise sub-only mode because I'm not sure how much of the chat I can take. But we'll see. We'll see. It should be a good episode next week at 3 o'clock Eastern with Gassy Mexican. So make sure to check it out. We're out. Have a great weekend, and I'll do some shout-outs as well after we close it out. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.